Let it Let it Let it Let it Let it Let it
Good evening. Come on in. Welcome home. Come on in. How's everyone doing this evening? 51 of you coming on in. Come on. I'm waiting for you. Come on in. I am so excited to see you come in here today. Let's get it. Hello, mi familia. Good evening, Kevin. Good evening, Diana. Diana, you owe me a text. Good evening, Gwen Molden. Coach Ebony's here. She's giving us instructions. Come on, our solutionist. Give us instructions. Let me put it up here big time right now till we get started. That's my favorite one right there. But it usually takes up too much of the screen. Please like. Please share. Come on, we're up to 61. Come on in. Where are you coming in from? Where are you coming in from? Come on in. So glad to see you. I've been waiting for you. Okay, I gotta share my seat here with my pooch. Make sure I don't smash her little legs. Good evening. Come on in, family. Let me get purple like this nice shirt that Danielle bought me. First state of Delaware. Come on, Brenda. Crystal in Connecticut. Vanessa, Bernard, Yolanda, Crystal, Nicole. Welcome, Nicole. Kevin from New Jersey. All right, Kevin. Anya, Bianca, Kareem. All right, Prophet Charlene from Virginia, Carmen Ortiz, Chantil, Manuel, Coach Latanya, Dominique. Hello, Keisha. Hello, Pam, Noemi, Karen. Good evening. Good evening, Audria, Lisa Palmer. Kingdom Health Connections is in the house tonight. She is the health side to what we do. Kingdom Health Connections. Follow her on Facebook, YouTube, and every Tuesday morning, she's dealing with the physical body. And you know, the physical and the mental, the spiritual, they all need each other to survive. So get in there and get some feedback on what these defense mechanisms are doing to your body, your circulatory system. Get some information on diabetes or how to avoid being a diabetic, or if you are a diabetic, how to get off this range, this high range of being a diabetic without medication. She gives lots and lots and lots of great advice. She is studied and she has the paperwork to prove it. That's Dr. Vanessa Bowling. Follow her on Kingdom Health Connections, either on Facebook or on YouTube. Welcome, Elder Connie. Welcome, Brenda Berry, Donna Griffith, Elitza. Welcome, Gwyneth Douglas. Phyllis, welcome, Darlene. Welcome. All right. Finally, Coach Maria, because I had planned on calling you out tonight. How come I never see you on? Welcome. Crystal Adgers. Come on in, family. Jessica, Leah, Renee, Prudence, Ronnie Bonner. Come on in, family. Latoya. Come on in. We're up to 76. Let's go. Cora. Hello, Sabrina. Brenda. Very good, Brenda Chase. Very good. Glad to see you coming back in. Chevelle, Bianca, Lydia Cordova, Ubi's in the house. Come on, family. Let's go. Danielle, Sharita. I see you, Maria Rodriguez. I see Dolores Davis, Camille. Very good. Come on in, family. Like and share. Let's get this party started. Come on. I'm ready. Are you ready? Day 17. Let's go. Very good. Welcome and welcome and welcome. Denise Vargas, I see you. I don't really do social media. So how do I get connected to Kingdom Health Connections? If you're on Facebook, and you're actually coming in from YouTube tonight. So if you go to YouTube and put in a search bar, Kingdom Health Connections, her business will come up and you just click subscribe. Someone can help you if you need help. You can call us or you can email us. Everything's on the website. Carolyn Booker, welcome. Nick, all right now. I thought you had some tardies. Rochelle, welcome. Hi, Angela Copeland. Let's go, Aubrey. Awesome. Welcome home, family. It's been a whole 24 hours. How are we surviving without each other? Well, you checked in from the state that you're coming in from. So why don't you, let's see, how are we going to kick it off tonight? How about we kick it off and we already put in the state, right? How many of y'all were able to get the book? I just saw a text from Dominique. She got her book in the mail already, the blue book, Defense Mechanisms. Anyone else able to get theirs yet? She might be the first so far. I'm going to look real quick while we're here and just see if my shipment has even shipped yet so I can mail it to all of those who ordered it off the website. Doesn't even show a ship status yet. So Amazon, the big guy, gets it before the author. Isn't that unbelievable? The way the world is set up. So if anyone ordered from me and you want to go and get it on Amazon, let me know. I have no problem with canceling your order so that you can go ahead and get it on Amazon. Or if you don't mind waiting, You don't mind waiting. I'm going to get it to you eventually. Understand, the last final night of Soul Detox 2023 is on a Tuesday. I believe it is January 31st, and it is a Tuesday. And I would love to see you in the house. I would love to see you at 131 East Elliott Street in the great city of Heartbeat, Hartford, Connecticut. I would love to have you there with me. And I'm going to do the book signings then, because all the books, they're all dated to be in before the last night of our service. So if you're able to, take the train, take the bus, take the car, take somebody's Uber. What else we got trains and bus and cars and planes and automobiles. We can work this out. Come on in. We would love to have you on January 31st in the house, the Apostles House, 131 East Elliott Street. Get in like 6:30 p.m. and we're going to have such a great night of celebration. And there'll be probably some tears and some hugs and some things, because we have really, you'll be surprised, even virtually, how attached we all have really become being together every night at 7 p.m. Even people whose faces I have never had the honor of seeing, just reading your comments, or even if you didn't post. A few people told me, I'm on, but I don't post, so I don't even know that you're on here with us. You're going to feel the disconnect. So I'm going to work really, 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 really hard at keeping the flow going. Now, I'm not going to do another 30 days in February, but I'm going to give you a heads up. I'm going to deal with relationships in January, and we're going to interview a couple of couples, and we're going to talk about some of these soul issues and how they affect our relationships. And I'm going to have really candid and honest people who are not going to be embarrassingly, transparent, but they're going to share enough where other people can feel like you're not alone. You can be encouraged for when your time comes, encourage how to make your time last and keep that marriage together better than monster glue and crazy glue and all the other stuff. So if you're able, I really would love to see you. Come in with your book that night. I'll do a book signing as well. We'll take some good photos. We're just going to have a really good evening together. And it will set us off to start February with Relationship Soul. Relationship Soul. We're going to jump into that. And I'll send out a schedule. Everyone who's registered for Soul Detox 2023 will get an email before anyone else does. And you will know, about the events that we have coming up. I already have checked into one of the local community colleges about having their auditorium and just having a good, powerful night of Soul Detox with the live audience. Maybe some other speakers to come in with us and just keep this momentum going, because we worked really, really, really hard this year. So we've got a lot of great things planned. The retreat, I've gotten inboxes from people. They're saying, yes, I'm with the retreat. Wherever you want to go, we're going to show up. Let's get it done. So we've got a lot of good things. So make sure that you registered, and you can go to my website to do that, www.suzannemhoward.com. And all the information is going to be up there for you to follow us. But you got to sign up, because for you to sign up, you'll get the VIP information on what's going on, when I'm giving out free stuff, if I'm going to be in your city, just all those things right now that I'm not really focused on, because I really want to get into this passive aggressiveness tonight and be done. So make sure you register on the website. See if you're available to come in with us on January 31st. 6:30 p.m. starting at 7. I would absolutely love to lay some good hands on you, greet you, smile, take some pictures with you, sign your books, and wish you steadfast, wish you well, wish you Godspeed on doing the remaining work for the rest of this year. See, the blessed thing about this is, once you purchase the book, the videos are up until YouTube decides they're not going to play the videos anymore. So you can go back starting in February, and instead of doing it this quickly, once a day, you have the book, you have the videos, you can go on and watch it in any free time that you have, whenever you want to commit to keeping your personal development work up. So let's just say we did 30 days. So you can do it in 30 weeks, one video a week. And by then the workbook will be out. So a lot of the questions that I asked on here, some of the extra thought provoking relevancy of what we were doing while we were live will be in the workbook. And you were able to do the video and the workbook together for the rest of 2023 and sharpen yourself Good. All right. So I guess that's it. We're going to go ahead and get started. What does Lydia Cordova say? Very good. She's going to send her book in with Anna to get signed. Very good. Oh, bless you. You're going to have surgery. Well, we pray for you right now, Lydia, that in your surgery, that those hands of that physician will become the hands of the great physician. And every move he makes, every stitch he takes, and every instrument that he has to use in you will be led and directed by the Holy Spirit of God. Jesus Christ, the great physician, will be in there operating through that surgeon to make sure that you come out completely well, healed, and recovery with ease. We bless you with speedy recovery in your surgery. And God bless you, my dear. And we have a birthday again tonight. We have Dr. Ronnie Bonner. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Ebony, next time we got to get the little blowhorns because it's been about 4 birthdays already, right? You beautiful January people. Yes. What's the right site? Somebody's going to answer you, Vicky, because I just see your second message. Mary Harris Rose, God bless you, my sister. She's having an awesome conference this year. You will see that on my Facebook page as well. She says, I'm waiting on my other 2 books to come from Amazon from my house. I already have self-esteem. Awesome. Thank you so much, sister. God bless you. All right, let's get this party started quickly. Whew, I needed that exhale because we've been moving fast. And we've dealt with a lot. Tonight, we are at the part, the ending portion. And the ending portion starts out with, how can you handle, nope, I don't even want to go there. I want to go further than that. I want to do, oh, maybe I can. Let me see. Yeah, I think I'll just pick up right there just to kind of pull us in. We ended last night on the silent treatment, recognizing that, let me go ahead and validate you. For those who are stonewalled, that is a form of emotional abuse. You are definitely in emotional abuse. Okay? So let's get that worked on. Well, that was a good question you just asked me. How do we get that work on? So let's talk about it now. First of all, welcome again to Soul Detox, Wednesday, January 18th, but it is our 17th Soul Detox because we do not start on January 1st. Welcome. I am your host, Apostle Dr. Suzanne M. Howard, and I am so elated, and I know that I am so blessed to have you in this process, on this journey with me for 30 wonderful days, and glory be to God, 30 wonderful years of God doing everything that he wants in us to institute his purpose through us. God bless us all. So how can you handle, if not at all, better the silent treatment? Better communication can help to change someone's passive aggressive behavior. So think about that. Better communication can help to change someone's passive aggressive behavior. Once you have identified the toxic behavior, stop participating in it. Stop participating in it. And this is what we talked about last night. And this is often the hard job that you have to do if your friend is passive aggressive or if your spouse is passive aggressive. This is the harsh assignment that you're going to have to deal with, because dealing with passive aggressive people, not only is it toxic, which has become a real household word now, but dealing with passive aggressive people, it is cyclic. It makes patterns. It triggers another individual to respond. And we never respond in the right way. We often respond negatively. we respond negatively, not the way we should. But it's like, this is the last person that's going to say something to me today. This is the last person I'm going to let do this in my life. And by the time we've last person so many people in our lifetime, somebody finna get it. And it doesn't come out right. So if we can be a little more skilled to recognize passive aggressive behavior, a lot more skilled in our response when we are being sucked in to someone's passive aggressive behavior. Think of it like a spider web, and they've just put a web around you. And now that that web is around you, you're caught up and you're trying to get out of it. Fighting back doesn't get you out of it. Fighting back only entangles you in more of the web. Second of all, it's going to cause them to release more webbing, which is going to cause you to really get tight into this passive aggressive pattern. It's too toxic to fight. How long would you fight someone that you knew wasn't sober? How long would you spend of your time and our life that's so short, and I believe it's gotten even shorter. How long would you spend fighting and arguing with someone who isn't sober? Because that is literally what you are doing when you spend time trying to convince someone who's not sober. And I'm not talking about from drugs and alcohol. I'm talking about who's operating in an unconscious defense mechanism. How long will you invest in arguing, thinking you're going to change someone? I know people that wait 20 and 30 and 40 years. I've waited years for someone to change and finally just had to leave. And guess what happened after I left? Nope. It's not what you think. They didn't change. Guess what happened after I left? They found someone else, webbed them in their toxic lifestyle with them. And now it's probably, I don't know if I can say 30 years yet. Yeah, maybe about 30 years now. A little short, let's say 25 years. They're still doing the same thing that I was waiting for them to stop doing when I was with them. How many years I wasted only to find out 25 years later they're still doing the same thing. Come on, exhale. Take a breather. If that's you, take a breather. The only person you want to wait on, baby, is Jesus. Take it from me. God, I don't know how I made it this far. I'm just grateful for being introduced to the church. I'm grateful for being introduced to a church that was filled with the Holy Spirit, with very imperfect people. I experienced church hurt there, but I experienced the greatest rebirthing in the universe that is available to everyone. I experienced the greatest rebirth, the best rebirth anyone can have in the universe. I experienced in a church full of broken people who hurt me. Glory to God. Oh my God. Look what you have to go through to get the greatest place to be reborn. And it was worth it. And I wouldn't let anybody shake me off out of there. I don't care what they said, what they did. I praised God even more. You didn't think I deserved to praise God? I praised him more. You didn't think I deserved to sit up on the third row? I got in early, baby. I'm getting to that third row. I did everything I had to do to get down on my knees symbolically to touch the hem of his garment. And I didn't let no gender, I didn't let no religious people, no traditions. I didn't let my self-talk, my self-esteem. I didn't let anything stop me. I knew that my life was in the hem of his garment. And I didn't care what them church folks was like. I went through a divorce early in my salvation. The married folks didn't really want me around their husbands once I was divorced. I was cast aside, cast away, cast out. And baby, I stuck in there because I needed the hem of his garment. And I'm grateful to God that I did it. And I thank him for saving me. That's my grateful. Not just for today, that's mine for to the last breath I take, but definitely re-emphasizing that today. The best thing you can do is to learn the skill that it takes to deal with people that are like this in the church, in the family, in the marketplace, in your job. They're everywhere. Wherever people are, it's automatically marred. It's no longer perfect. So the best way is better communication, and someone needs to start it. And at this point, it's going to have to be you, because you're the one that's had some level of awareness, some information and education on it now. It's going to be you. So better communication can help you to change someone's passive aggressive behavior. Once you have identified the toxic behavior, stop. Once you have identified the toxic behavior, stop. Stop participating in it immediately. Instead, affirm the passive aggressive person's inner anger, which they will likely deny. Let me put an asterisk in there, which they will likely deny. Complement the areas of competence and reinforce the behavioral change that you want to see. Remember, we're talking about changing the world. And changing the world isn't the hardest work that we're called to do. You know why? Because when we think of changing the world, we think we have to go out and change cities and towns and nations. We have to change us, me and you. That's a world changer. A world changer. And I know we like to make big conference titles and names, and we like to make it look like, woo, I'm going to change the world, baby. You know how you change the world? You start with you. And when you change you, you have changed the world. It is no longer what it was before you made your change. That's a world changer. Change starts with me. Come on and say it. Change starts with me. You have the keys now. The Holy Spirit has used me over these 17 days and has given you so many keys right now. Do you know how to use the keys that have been given to you? We're going to get into that. We're going to spend the remaining time going through those keys. You've been given a key now to unlock better relationships. And one way of doing it is helping that passive aggressive person, helping yourself. But the first thing that you have to do is you have to stop participating in it. I will not be triggered today. Oh, you're not getting me today. Nope. And that's the first thing you do. Stop. Come on, somebody put on the screen, stop. And then if you have already started this dialogue with them on recognizing this behavior, don't call them passive aggressive. Please, please, please. No name calling. You can say a lot. You can actually define a whole description without saying the title. And guess what happens? The person may say to you, are you calling me passive aggressive? And you can say, well, what do you know about it? Start a conversation about that. That's disarming the person. But the first thing you want to do is take responsibility of you. I'm a world changer. I'm a world changer. I'm a world changer. It starts with me. It starts with me. It starts with me. So stop. And then, make some comments about some things. Find out a way, how to address the anger. I don't have the time to deal with the first time you've addressed someone on this, or the second time you've addressed them on this, or they are aware of their behavior. We can do that in sessions together. But the first thing you need to do, stop participating in it. Try to get them to recognize that there's some anger behind this dynamic, this way of relating with you, or the way you see them relating with someone else. There's a dynamic going on there. And then you can even start, thirdly, complimenting the areas of their competence. I see that you're trying to communicate with me, and I'm sorry that I just wasn't giving you that full attention that you needed. Because when you're not giving someone the full attention, that's when they get angry with you, and they show up differently in that dialogue. So don't be afraid to revisit the subject of passive aggression with your loved ones or your business associates if you have to. It is worth it. Okay? Although it can be tempting to react by being passive aggressive yourself, expressing anger or frustration will likely spur the person to continue behaving the same way. Do not be defensive while you are working through your defense mechanisms. Do not be defensive. If at all possible. Now this is heavy. This is like, when a doctor gives you a prescription and then they tell you a little bit about the prescription. Well, I've been giving you a prescription the last 2.5 days. Tonight's going to be the third night of this, right? Been giving you a prescription. Let me give you the instructions of the prescription. Tell me when you're ready. When you say you're ready, I'm going to give it to you. World changer. Ready. All right. Ebony said she's ready. Anybody else ready with Ebony? All right. Y'all caught up with me now. When dealing with a passive aggressive person, it is often the best to limit the time you spend in their presence. If at all possible, the best solution is often to limit the time you spend in their presence. Ooh. If you live with them or you live with yourself and you know you're really passive aggressive, the best thing you can do is, if you can't escape their presence when they are in the passive aggressive mode. When that mechanism has kicked in, be like Joseph and flee the room. Do not participate. And that may be all you can do in the beginning. You may not be able to confront or call them out on their behaviors. So you may have to exit stage left. There's a door over there, and I'm just going to take that door until I can get to a place where I can reach this with you. But the best thing you can do, number one, is to limit the time you spend in their presence, because you're going to get triggered and you're going to get sucked in. But if you determine that the confrontation is the best path forward, if you're going to choose that confrontation is the best path forward, then you're going to have to avoid being accusatory. Period. You are going to have to avoid being accusatory. You cannot accuse, because you want to disarm them. You want to take the mechanism out of their hands so that a normal functioning communication can happen. And then if you decide to stay instead of fleeing and you are disarming the person, you have to avoid being accusatory, and as calmly as you can, explain how their behavior makes you feel. Explain how their behavior makes you feel. And they may in the beginning say, I'm not responsible for how you feel. You're right. Your behavior, though, is the part that you are responsible for. Because oftentimes with passive aggressive people, you can feel a negative energy from them, especially people who are very sensitive with discernment or in spiritual matters. You can feel this anger. I knew someone, and he was a young man. I mean, I don't even know if he was 30 yet. And he literally walked with his fist balled up. Have you ever seen that? And I wouldn't address it for years. So I did my best to avoid them. And finally, one day, the moment, I just felt that the moment was right to address. And I said, you have a lot of anger. And surprisingly enough, they said, I know. And I said, do you realize that you walk with your fist balled up? And they looked down at their fists. And he said, I know. And I said, this isn't healthy for you. And he just looked at me almost like, God was ministering, like he was going to cry. And I said, sometimes I avoid talking to you, even when I see you call my phone, because I don't want to deal with the depressing stories or the accusatory blame shifting that I go through with you. And I said, I don't want you to feel like I'm coming off on you or I'm against you, because I'm not. I actually want to work through this with you. So I'm trying to confront it the best way I can without turning you away from me. And they said, well, do you have a minute to listen to me? And I said, I do. And I didn't like everything they said, but I'm now qualified enough in the skill training to help diffuse some of their anger, giving them a safe place to talk. They were willing. If they weren't willing, I would have backed off. But I believe that was one of those kairos moments, one of those moments that are so divine that you knew something you prayed for, or a moment that you had just talked to with God about, maybe doing the dishes or driving, or, in the shower, the bathroom, those places where God always seems to show up on us. I think that's Eden, right? It's like a lot of people say, in the shower, in the bathroom, God shows up. Like he really catches us in some of our most vulnerable moments. And, it was one of those moments where I felt like this is the moment that I have really been waiting for to address this person whom I love. And avoiding them was sending worse signals, because they ended up saying to me, for some reason, I always knew you didn't like me. And I said, how could I not like you? And they were like, I knew it. I can tell that you don't like me. And it hurts me that you don't like me, but I'm staying in your life. And my immediate response was, well, let's clear this up first. Please understand, it's not that I don't like you. I'm very uncomfortable with this energy that comes from you. It's an angry energy. And when I noticed the last year, look how long I took in this conversation. I noticed the last year that you tend to walk with your fists balled up. Your arms are by your side, but your fists are balled up. And I've never seen this before. I was new at mental health coaching, and I'm like, it really makes me nervous, like almost like fearful that I can't trust that you can have self-discipline. And the conversation lasted a couple hours, and it was very rewarding for the both of us, extremely rewarding for him. And it's just been a long process ever since. But you got to be willing to not be accusatory. You may have to hear them blame shift for a little while, because they're going to blame shift, because remember, they are angry and their anger came way before you. That's why if you can diffuse the situation, disarm their anger or their fear, or their fear of judgment. Remember, all fear isn't a physical fear. Some people may fear that confrontation. Some people may fear that someone may strike them. Other people's are fear of being judged. So we wall off using these learned behaviors of defense mechanisms for fear of being judged, fear of being criticized. So it was a divine moment. I took advantage of it, and to God be the glory, it worked out. But there's still a whole lot of work that has to be done. The client's not mine, but recently I was able to recommend them to a therapist. I'm putting together a great network of therapists that I'm working with, that I believe they operate well, very well, very integral. I'm just going to go sidebar for just a second. Prophets make very good counselors and therapists. Prophets make very good counselors for drug addictions. The best person you can go to for addiction recovery is a prophet. They have the mantle to break addictions. And it's not by oil and laying on of hands alone. It's a work that the prophet has been mantled to do by God. So I like to know people's mantles, even if they don't recognize the mantle that's on them. I have people who I know are apostles, and they have no idea what an apostle is, and they do not recognize themselves as an apostle, but I recognize the mantle on them, and they're in therapy, and I know who to recommend to. It's a small list, and I'm hoping it's going to be really big and across many states soon, but that's just something to think about. Therapy, mental health coaching. If you can afford the mental health coaching, I would suggest it. So when you're dealing with a passive aggressive person, you're going to have to hold them accountable to the behavior. And sometimes you can do it by saying, okay, just calm down, because I don't want to be afraid when I'm talking to you. You don't even have to be afraid, but just let them know that you're feeling something in your body. And sometimes when you tell people you're afraid, it diffuses them. When you go eye to eye with them, you're not going to diffuse them. And the next thing you have to do is you have to stop apologizing. Oftentimes, because remember, we talked about this being witchcraft. We talked about it being with the root of anger. We talked about it's manipulating. It's a controlling spirit. It is a verbally abusive spirit. So when you are confronting this person, or you're breaking the process that has enabled their behavior for so long, you stop feeding that machine. The first thing you're going to have to do after you make up your mind to stop feeding that machine and and you're done with fleeing the room, you're going to have to stop apologizing. You have been apologizing so long because you are tripped by their behavior that you don't know right from wrong, up or down, morning from night, if you did something wrong or you didn't do something wrong. Stop apologizing, especially if you know you've done nothing wrong. Yep. And that's a big thing with women. And I'm praying on that. And I'm doing the best work that I can as a mental health life coach to help women break that. We're always saying, I'm sorry. I'm working so hard with my granddaughter on that. She says, I can't say I'm sorry. I said, no, say I apologize. I said, did you mean to do that? She was like, no. I said, you walked by me at the refrigerator. Your elbow hit me. I'm sorry. You backed into me. I'm sorry. You spilled something. I'm sorry. Stop with the I'm sorry. You're not sorry. There's nothing sorry about you. You wasn't born in sorrow, and I don't grandmother you in sorrow. You are anointed. You are the head and not the tail, above and not beneath. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. And any tongue that rises up against you, you have been given the authority to condemn. Ain't nothing sorry about that, honey. I apologize. That's something women do. How about telling us you like our shirt and we have to tell you where we got it from and how much it costs? Because we have to downplay the places we shop. We have to downplay how much we pay for stuff. Girl, this shirt cost me a lot of money. I'm glad you noticed it. Thank you, Danielle from Jamaica. You did nothing wrong. Try putting your needs first. If this is a household relationship that you've been dealing with for a long time, more than likely your needs have been out the window. Try putting your needs first. They likely want you to blow up at them. Trust me. They want you to blow up at them. Or they want you to counter with passive aggressive on your own. They want you to counter their behavior with passive aggression of your own. Don't play their game. That's their game. It's not your game. Do not play their game. Instead, calmly and directly address the issue at hand, being specific about what they do or say that upsets you. If you were involved in Soul Detox 2022 last year, we dealt with self-awareness. Self-awareness is being aware of yourself, your defense mechanisms, how you show up. It's even how people perceive you. And we often say these cliches, and I hate when they come into the church. I'm not responsible for how someone perceives me. In part, you are. Because if you are okay with people perceiving you the way they want to, then your true reputation will never be known. And that may be good for you if you have a poor reputation. But other than that, I refuse to let people assume they know me. If I hear something, I'm confronting it. You don't have to assume that you know me. You should know me well enough that if you heard gossip, you could say, that could be her. I don't know. I'm going to address my friend and find out. Or you could say, that's absolutely not her. She's bold, because I get told that often, that I'm very bold, and it makes more sensitive people a little nervous, and people are afraid to join the church, or they're afraid to text me, or they're afraid to book an appointment with me, or they're afraid to approach me because she's so bold. My boldness in an honesty. It's not being curt. It's not to hurt anyone. I put my jacket down on the floor more times every day for people to walk over that puddle than the nicest person there is. I just know who I am. I know what I'm called to do. And I wasted enough time being on the wrong side of the tracks that now that I'm on the right side of the tracks with purpose, I'm moving. And in every stride and every step, I'm moving in purpose, for purpose and towards purpose. And if that's bold and it makes you uncomfortable, I apologize. But please understand, you have not experienced rudeness from me or curtness from me, because that is not who I am. I am a bold lady. I am a bold woman. Do not allow people to carry perceptions about you. It is your right and your duty. Self-awareness, how people perceive you. Self-awareness is that two-edged or two-angle sword. People like to throw that off right away. They like to throw it off. Oh, well, I'm not responsible. You better believe you are, because if you are not responsible, you are not growing up. Don't play their game. It's their game. It's not your game. Calmly address the issue at hand. Stand up for yourself. Be specific about what they do or what they say that upsets you, even when it's your children. Because I've noticed a lot of women in the last few years who children are still living in their home and they're practically bullying you. They're running you. And these mothers are afraid of some of these children living in their home with them. And the moms are having nervous breakdown. They're trying to move out of their house and leave the house to these rebellious kids because they allowed their behaviors to go on so long. So passive aggressively, mom does stuff to survive, which just keeps the fighting and the toxicity in the house going on. You got to address that thing head on. Staying as calm as possible can prevent someone from stonewalling you. Last night we had the Bowlings in our live studio with us, and he shared, Mr. Bowling shared how he believes that he's the one that kind of shuts down more. And the wife looked and she was surprised that he made that confession because she felt that she was. The best thing to do, especially when you have two people like them who are ready to work out these issues, the best thing to do is to stay calm. Convince the partner that you are calm so that they don't have to run into a defense mechanism of shutting down and stonewalling. Because when we're not calm, it causes people to move into a defense mechanism because they're already frightened. So some automatically may have shown up, but you can diffuse it. You can disarm the other person's defense mechanism by staying as calm as possible to prevent them from stonewalling. If a couple can listen and speak without getting defensive, that will decrease the need for passive aggressive tactics, such as the one I just mentioned, stonewalling. Start practicing validation and other communication skills that makes marriage work. To repair any damage stonewalling has done to your relationship, start with validating them. Even if you don't agree with them, validate. I could see why the way I just said that, or while I was, look, I found one today in me, right? I didn't like what was being said. So I'm trying to figure out how to respond because I didn't like what was being said. So what I found myself doing, I found myself grabbing the sponge and wiping the counter that was clean already. Kind of reminds me of one of my friends, right? That always drinks the glass or the water, the plastic water bottle when nothing's in it, no water's left, but she's thinking she's drinking. That's her whole response. She jumps to do this. I grabbed the sponge and started wiping the counter, and nothing was on the counter to wipe up. My body went in because conflict was getting ready to happen, because the issue that came up was something very personal to me, and I felt like I had to confront. But lo and behold, waking up at 5:30 for prayer in the morning, starting out with gratitude, I had no defense. I let them talk. I let them talk. There was a response, but I had no defense, and I didn't give them the response yet. I let them talk. And I noticed that their guards have been down since that happened for the rest of that day. So I know the conversation can be finished again, but right now they're knowing that it's not touchy. It's not going to trigger me. It's not going to cause me to defend. So the conversation can happen a lot easier. Better communication works, especially in marriages or household roommates, teams in the church or the workplace. So we have some time left here. We have about 10 minutes left. So let's do some mental health recovery work. Let's do some mental health recovery work. A common situation where this dynamic played out was when this client's behavior from his partner, and the partner asked him to do something he did not want to do. We're going to do some mental health work. So they came in, we talked about a couple of things, and then we got to the point where my client's partner asked him to do something that he didn't want to do. In fact, it was his wife. In session, he would describe a fight he and his partner had over something involving cooking dinner. Anybody have the Hell's Kitchen? Over cooking dinner. Okay. So he would analyze the situation, the conflict, and we would go over his approach and his feelings at the time, his feelings in that moment when he was asked. After some time working together and going over nightly routines, weekly routines, how things went on vacation, such as that, we realized that almost all of the fights they had started with my client agreeing to do something he didn't want to do. And it was too real to his childhood. So after some time working together, took a little time, we realized that everything that started as an argument in the household with him and his wife had to do with him agreeing to do things that he really didn't want to do. Maybe it was something big sometimes, like the decision about where to go on a trip, or something smaller, where we're going to go out to eat, or cooking, like I just mentioned. So we actually found a starting point to focus on. He's doing things he did not want to do. Do y'all remember that in the prior nights on passive aggressive? Do you remember that with some of the other defense mechanisms, avoidance and the such? When you have an issue saying no. So the question became, why did my client say yes to something that he did not want to do? And most of the time, it was always about not wanting to hurt his wife's feelings. I can't go into the psychological dynamics of it right now, but please understand that it had a lot to do with the inability to say no to his mother. Very controlling mother full of rage, liked everything perfect. From they couldn't get a crumb on the table while they ate. They had to sit up with their back straight during dinner. And by the time he became an adult, it was almost a rebellious state kicked in. So we begin to help him reflect on why he really wanted to say no. And then we helped him reflect on why did he end up saying yes? Instead of saying no at the beginning, at the onset, being honest with your partner, with your mate. Even if you said, I'm really tired, but if you need me to do it, I'll do it. Instead of saying, yeah, sure. And inside, regretting that you're doing it and then going to sabotage something later. So he spent a great deal of time making sure his partner understood clearly when he didn't want to do something that he didn't end up doing, or he ended up doing later when it was convenient for him. But he was virtually, that's a good way to put it, he was virtually reenacting his relationship out with his mom in real time with his wife. So after talking with him a little bit more, talking with his wife a little bit more, we discovered another reason that he could be saying yes instead of no. And we worked down through a list of things that helped them both out a lot. But again, all of this went back to his childhood. All of this was before he even met his wife. And his wife was much younger than him. So a lot of the issues, check this out, a lot of the issues that he had happened before she was even born. And yet it showed up in the marriage with her. Yeah. So if he had said no to his mother growing up, he would have been attacked, locked out of the house, not given any food to eat. So saying no to his mom was like rebellion. And who are you when I'm putting a roof over your head and food on the table and I'm doing this and I'm doing this? So it was really outright war in the house. And so we kind of understood then why it was so much easier for him to say yes to things that he really didn't want to do. He was programmed. I want you to put that on the screen. Programmed how to respond in relationship. programmed in how to respond in relationship. Programmed on how to respond in relationship. We began to explore more ideas of him saying no. Same thing I would do with you. We can even do it on a live. If someone can think of sometimes they have said no when they wanted to say yes, I'd love to work this whole session out in front of an audience. Or we can do it on our own, one by one, in a phone call too. And we can peel that onion, as I like to call it. So you think it would be simple for him just to say no, right? His wife was not an aggressive person. He married the complete opposite of his mother. She was not an aggressive person. She was assertive, like he liked. He liked strong women because his mother was strong, but he liked assertive women, not aggressive women. There's a big difference. So she was assertive. She was a boss. She was business, everything that he liked. But he still could not find himself saying no to her. And we think it would be simple because that was mom. I got a different wife. She loves me. She shows she loves me, but it's not. So working with him to start saying no to her, we thought would be a good start. Just casually and randomly saying no, like kind of as a joke. Like if you went up and you went in the kitchen to get some water and your spouse said, "Hey, can you grab me some hot water in a tea bag when you come back?" No. And she would look at him and they would laugh and he would do it because it wasn't an inconvenience for him. But we had to literally program and after deprogramming him, getting him to say no, even as a joke, until he got comfortable saying no from his heart and his mind. Yeah, really, really, really deep stuff. So needless to say, this was not an easy process as it sounds here because I had to end up being with the wife a little bit separate from him. People who struggle with passive aggressive behavior often find it hard to change. And they find it hard to change because deep down, it can be so satisfying for them. That's deep, right? Deep down, it is so satisfying for them. Why would that be satisfying? Because it feels good to nurture a source of anger and resentment. That's a powerful statement right there. Think about that. While they're doing things that they don't want to do, they are actually nurturing that anger and resentment that they have down on the inside of them. So that's why they find it hard to change, because even though the behavior is not good, it's not healthy for the relationship, neither is it healthy for the individual, they were still nurturing a source of anger and resentment. And they had learned how to do that their entire life. So imagine trying to put in something new that they knew worked. It just had a win. It didn't have a win-win. In mental health coaching, our goal is to introduce people to a win-win situation in their personal life and to always get them to move forward. We're not staying stagnant. We're not going over the same thing over and over again. We are not going down a rabbit hole. If you have disorders, you're going to have to go that way for a while, but we help you through the illnesses. I mean, the issues. Yeah, that's if you will, that's the pathology of it right there. Is because I know the good that I ought to be doing, but the thing that I ought not to be doing is the thing I find myself doing. And that's nurturing that anger and resentment that has been with me for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, possibly 60 years sometimes. And now you want me to try something better because this is ruining my health. It has robbed me of my life. It has robbed me of many freedoms. My kids kind of resent me because I was very passive in the house, because I would never say no. So I was very passive in the house. So my kids did not get my leadership as they should have, as they deserved, as it was needed, as God requires parents to give their children their leadership, not their friendship and not their abuse either, but to give your leadership to your children, passing something on, talking about passing a legacy. That's a legacy to pass on. So it feels good to fight the noble fight against a person trying to keep you down. It feels good to consider yourself to be the one in the argument who's on the right side of things by always saying, yes, okay, sure, I don't mind. You sure you don't mind? I'm sure I don't mind. You sure you don't mind? Because I'm seeing something. I don't mind at all. Why you keep asking me that, Apostle? Because you're saying, I'm sure I don't mind. I don't mind at all. What would you like me to do? Yeah, I don't mind doing that. Sure. You got 10 other people to ask, but you always come to me. Sure, I'll do it. No problem. You sure you don't mind doing it? Yeah, I'm sure. So you're going to have to get over always looking up as the right one, the peacemaker. That's not a peacemaker. That's fraud. That's faux peace. FAUX. Faux peace. It's not real. It feels good all those years to consider yourself in the argument that everybody looks at and says, oh, he's so nice, or she's always so nice, and they always, their spouse is this and their spouse is that. Baby, that thing is so toxic. You cannot diagnose that by having dinner with them. They have learned how to work this thing so well. And I tell you, I know my feelings. Those who know me know my dealings with married couples. I tell you often, it is so deep that the mechanisms become mechanisms inside of mechanisms. And we just learn how to work mechanisms like a car with a flat tire, and we just know how to make it run on 3 wheels. So don't try to diagnose somebody in a couple of dinners or a few visits at your house. It's usually way deeper than that. Why? Because how can two walk together unless they agree? That right there, we always look at the positive side of it. We can move forward. We can walk together where there's agreement. But agreement also means that I can enable you because I'm agreeing with your toxic behavior. I'm agreeing to keep you in a systemic pattern of defense mechanisms. That's an agreement. So agreement can also mean enablement. How can two walk together unless they agree? It's also like, think of it this way. How can two walk together unless they agree? Think of it as a question instead of a statement. They walk together because one's agreeing with the other one's toxic behavior. And that's how they're able to walk together. I like this statement that was written. I think it was one of my teachers that actually wrote it too. But it also feels good in the way that an arsonist feels good as he watches a building burn that he set on fire. It's self-destructive behavior that has been converted from our childhood experiences into a defense mechanism that is an essential part of us. It can be very hard to learn to say no. I want everybody on the screen just to type the words no. Just go for it. Just type the word no. It can be very hard to learn to say no. And then even more difficult to explain why. Come on. 95 of you on here. Let me just see 95 no's go across my screen. Come on, do it so fast I won't even be able to keep up with the names. No. And then tell me how you felt. I can't wait for Dr. Vanessa to bring her blood pressure cup to our next live. I want to take someone's blood pressure when we're just talking, and it's probably going to be elevated because I realize from my audience that I really, really need to catch the drift that I'm not preaching on Sunday mornings where you get a bunch of amens. So I'm just going to have to keep rolling when they look like a deer in headlights. Yes, I learned that. So the blood pressure will probably be elevated, but we're going to take their blood pressure and then we're going to take their blood pressure when they say no for someone that struggles with no. And we're going to see what happens with the blood pressure because this is all guaranteed that it affects your physical well-being. I wish above all things that you prosper and be in good health, even as your soul, mind, will, emotions, lust, appetite, desires prospers. They work together. So it can be very hard to learn to say no. And then even more difficult to explain why. Why? We always want to explain why. No. But in my experience, this path leads to greater intimacy and appreciation between people in relationships, and not just love relationships. If you feel like this part of the program described you and some of the relationships that you are in, then perhaps it is time for you to start thinking about saying yes less and no more. And most importantly, finding someone to talk to get you to change the destination of your mind. I'm done for tonight. We're going to hit a big night on tomorrow. We're going into fantasy. Somebody put on the screen, it gets deep again tomorrow. So come up for air. Come up, grasp some air, because we're going to go in a little bit heavier on tomorrow. We're going into fantasy. And let me tell you what happens after fantasy, because we're turning them corners now. Let me give you another good one. Humor, fantasy, and humor. Well, I thank you for this time. Please take the time to hit like on YouTube. Please have mercy on my soul. I beg of you. I've been doing this 6 years now, and I just need a little bit more, okay? And I'm not asking you for any money. I'm asking for 1,000 likes on subscribers on YouTube. And if on Facebook, you can just hit like. It would help us a lot. It doesn't cost you anything. And for those that are sewing into the ministry every night, I'm going to take a moment and just thank you all for what you've been sowing and giving. It has been more of a blessing than you will ever imagine, and probably ever be able to know. So thank you for sowing in. Dr. Vanessa, Carmen Jones, Yvonne, Brittany, Kim, Carmen. Damien is so faithful. I just love it. I just love it. He's like the woman who came up and Jesus said that she gave all she had. I mean, it's beautiful. So thank you so much again for your giving, for your subscriptions, for your likes, for registering, for getting on here and encouraging me to do this work that sometimes, the world isn't ready for it. When God called me to do this, people weren't ready for it. So they wanted people with worldly degrees. And then they ended up calling me years later because they found out they were dealing with people who believed they were witches. They were into crystals, and they were acting in every other perverse theology there is instead of the Holy Spirit. So I thank God for keeping me these 7 years to keep plowing, even when some of the best of them, peers, wouldn't even understand that this was something that God had called me to do. I used to read people's books for my classes, right? And then I'd say, God, this is so good. It's the teacher that's in me. This is so good. I want to teach it to other people. So I would read a book and I'd come on here and teach it. And some other people in our own region would say, oh, she reads people's book and she's teaching from other people's books, only to find out, baby, that was only for the first 3 years. Now I'm writing my own books and I'm teaching others from my own material. So, when God calls you first to the mission field, you got to be ready for all people to attack everything that is unusual or something that they're not called to. When Adam and Eve was in the garden, God gave the vision to one person. They were married, and he gave it to one person. He gave it to Adam, and it was Adam's job to explain it to Eve. And that's what I do every year for 30 days. I'm explaining to all these Eves what it is that God has called me to do and how it can change your life if you stop attacking what you don't understand or the vision that you weren't there to receive. I wish above all things that you prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prospers. Good night, family. God bless you. I love you, and see you tomorrow.
Let it Let it let